Hello and welcome to Card Shop Insiders, a podcast where we combine decades of experience from both sides of the counter to take you inside the business of local game stores and collectible gaming hobbies. I'm Noah and I play games, lots of them.
Hi, I'm John. I own this store. I'm a 25-year veteran of the business. I can't even talk today, Noah.
You talk great.
No, I stumble and stammer.
We have combined perspectives, so we're ready to jump in.
We do.
Are you ready to talk about the news for this week, John?
What news do we have, Noah? Go ahead.
There's a couple different types of news that we got. Why don't we start with the Star Wars news? This is covered in a couple of weeks because of technical issues in last week's episode recording, but Star Wars made a couple of big announcements. They announced the planetary qualifier schedule for these are local tournaments that have automatic bids into the World Championships, which is a really big deal, I think, for competitive play to be able to go to a local store, play in a medium-sized tournament, and be able to get into the large World Championship tournament.
Out of all the stores in the United States, how many are there, though?
Well, so there's a lot of controversy about this. So it looks like there are 5, 10, 15, 20 stores. Is that what it is? 3, 20. Yeah, there are 20 stores.
Over 50 states.
In the 50 states.
Which California has 2, Northern California and Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
And I think last week New York had 2, one in the eastern part of New York and one in the western part of New York, correct?
Yeah.
All right. I wonder what the hell the criteria was for, awarding these stores these events. That should be interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry to steal your thunder, but
no, I mean, I think so. There's been a lot of discussion or commentary about this on the internet over the last week or so. The list was populated and sent out on a spreadsheet on Reddit showing where all these things are and what days they're scheduled for. They're all in October 5th through the 27th, mostly on Saturdays. There's a couple Sunday tournaments, but these stores, I don't know how they were picked, but that's one of the criticisms people have put out is that these stores, there's not really a clear explanation for why they were chosen. There does seem to be a fairly spread out distribution of them across the country. There's Southeast, Northeast, Midwest, South, West Coast, California by itself, North and South.
Is there any in Hawaii?
No.
All right, so if there's players in Hawaii, what do they expect them to do? Get on a damn airplane and spend all this money to go to California to play?
Well, statistically, there's probably not as many players in Hawaii. And second of all, this isn't the only way to get into the World Championships. I believe that there's a series of qualifying tournaments, like a organized play series that's supposed to be announced that will get you qualified as well. This is just one of the avenues to get into the World Championships. And so, they've got them spread out. I guess the easiest way would be to fly to San Francisco from Hawaii, where they have.
Oh, yeah. But how much would it cost a player to do
I haven't ever flown that flight, but yeah,
it's not cheap.
Overtly expensive either. I mean, it's cost us $1,500 to fly to Hawaii from here.
Yeah, but the thing in a nutshell is they just can't get in their car and go, a couple hundred miles over a big bridge. They have to fly.
I also can't only go a couple hundred miles to get to one of these.
Well, you can. What's in South Carolina? Isn't there one in South Carolina?
There is. There's one in Greenville, South Carolina.
Which is probably, about 2.5? No, I'm sorry.
Greenville?
About 5 hours
Greenville's
from here?
5 hours. Yeah.
So what's the controversy?
Greenville is 230 miles from here, too. So,
all right. So that's a pretty damn good distance.
3.5 hours of driving, 230 miles. And it's the only one within that radius of us that is happening. But so the controversy is a lot of these places. So this is not store championships.
Mm-hmm.
This is not your locals gets a special prize support for a local tournament that has a cool thing. This is part of the next tier up organized play competitive circuit. This is the lowest level of competitive circuit. And apparently, according to reports on the internet, several stores, including one of the ones in California, limited the sale of their tickets to local customers only. I know that you and I have talked, and I've been supportive of you about how we treat local players for things like Store Championship, which in Lorcana and in Star Wars has been described as the highest level of casual play. That's different, I think, than being the lowest level of competitive play. This is supposed to be a competitive tier tournament, and local store owners were not allowing people outside of their customer base to buy tickets, and then they sold out the event. According to one of these, according to one of the posts that I've seen, one of the stores is allegedly like cut 28 people off of the list so that they could give out extra prize support for the tournament.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
I just think it's going to be a problem.
I think it was because of venue size too and capacity.
Well, and I think so. One of the things that's criticized on this article that I'm looking at is like, how were these stores chosen, and like what metric did they meet? Do they have the ability to host a 128 person tournament? I mean,
Probably not.
that's what
Probably
a
not.
lot of these are supposedly. I guess a lot of the posts seem to indicate that 128 was like the ideal number for this tournament.
There's not many stores that can host that number of people.
Yeah, I mean, it would.
There's one store in this area that can, but most of the stores would have to rent another venue.
Yeah,
And that's added expense. That's what we talked about before.
well, and that gets rolled into the cost of entering that tournament, right? But I just think it's a messy rollout. There's been a lot of the other thing. Fantasy Flight has not posted this information on their website.
I wonder why.
Like the planetary qualifiers, you have to like search for and find them on their either through their. I think it's in their organized play portal. Like they store an event locator.
So they announced it, but yet they're not publicizing it.
They didn't announce it.
Well, how the hell did that information
I
get
don't know
out?
how the list got put together, but they have not formally published a list of any of this.
Yeah, it sounds like a big screw up. And I can understand the controversy with the players. They're going to get disgusted.
Yeah.
They're going to get discouraged.
Well, it's really frustrating. Like we have some people that are in our local scene here that have been working hard to like want to play competitively, and they've talked about wanting to play competitively, and like they don't have that opportunity if the events are not going to be like held in a place. Actually, I don't see any of the planetary qualifiers listed on their website. Like I just searched it. It says results 0.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So they haven't publicized it. It's out. The information has been confirmed, supposedly, that these are like, I mean, there are stores. I'm looking at posts where they have announced that they were chosen for a planetary qualifier, but unfortunately they're sold out already. Like, I just think it's another rough start for a rookie game, you know?
It's a cluster. And without being more specific, it's a cluster.
The other piece of news is sort of related to this. They announced formally that they're going to have a judges program starting, and that they have made a partnership, that they're ready to go, that they're very excited for it. But they announced it, and then the sign up for it is to join the wait list. Like, so you don't get to sign up to do the judges program. You get to sign up to get told when you can sign up.
Oh, that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really does.
They partnered with Cascade Games, who does a lot of other organized play, and they're putting together supposedly a good program. And they want the judges to focus on 5 things: tournament oversight, rules interpretation, dispute resolution, player education, and continuous learning. So they want judges to have to continue to be recertified, and they want you to basically run the stuff for them.
They ought to team up with Bandai because they're both screwed up.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's where Star Wars sits right now. They've announced judges. They did planetary qualifiers. We started last week in our deleted episode to talk about how they were giving out convention exclusives. So they've done it, as my understanding, 2 similar ways. San Diego Comic-Con, you had like 100 per day, and you had to get a ticket to be able to, like a raffle ticket of some kind. For Gen Con, which has just finished up this last weekend in Indianapolis, the way that you got the $100 convention exclusive pack was to buy a ticket to an event called the convention exclusive pack. It was $100 for the ticket, and you had to redeem your ticket on the same day that you bought it. So they opened up at 9 a.m. every day on the Gen Con website, and it was through Gen Con, so it was tied to your badge. And then you bring your badge to the Star Wars Unlimited booth, and they scan your badge and confirm that you bought a ticket for that day, and then they give you the thing.
Did they sell out?
100 a day.
So they did.
Yeah.
All right. So it cost you $100 theoretically to get that pack. What's the packs going for right now? They were selling for upwards of $600
I
the
think
other
it's
day.
the same. I
600.
mean, I haven't looked this weekend, but yeah.
Interesting.
I mean,
Interesting.
the promos are really cool. They also did release or announce the next set and the release schedule for the next several sets. So there'll be 3 new sets next year, and that's the plan going forward. Is they're going to do like 3 sets a year, which I think is a decent release pace.
Yeah.
Every 4 months you get a new set.
It's better than every 3 months with some of these other games.
Every 3 months I think is really hard. I think 4 months is a better cycle. So they're doing what it'll be. It'll be July, November, and March. But
Hopefully they'll get they get their distribution straightened out as far as the total numbers.
yeah,
Uh, I got notification from my distributor. We are getting the second wave of the second set, whatever the hell it's Galaxy
good. Shadows of the Galaxy.
Shadows of the Galaxy. I was only allocated 6 more boxes,
Oh, come on.
not cases, but boxes, and that's going to keep the individual card prices still high on the secondary market, and it's going to prevent a lot of stores from doing what they want to do with their customers as far as running sealed events or drafts or things like that because of limited product.
I think that's really unfortunate and difficult because what happened at Gen Con, there was a lot of publicity over the sealed and draft events and how fun those were. And to not make those an option at the local level because of limited supply is really hard.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Maybe this is the first wave of many to come with the second set. I don't know yet. And I haven't talked to my distributor this morning, so I really don't know what the projection is for, if they even told the distributors, what to expect over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There could be another wave next week. I don't know. Possible.
we can hope.
We can hope.
All right, let's moving on to Lorcana. Lorcana's got set release this weekend. That's pretty exciting. The new set looks really awesome. I think it's going to continue the excitement for the game. Probably the prettiest enchanted cards that they've produced so far. I mean, the art on those things is gorgeous. It'll be interesting to see what that does about pricing because they've again chosen to make enchanted cards that are for less playable and not excited cards, but they look really good.
I'm interested. I just got on the website with my distributor, and I noticed it hasn't been moved from the waiting queue to the active queue, which means that Ravensburger is probably not going to let them to release it maybe until tomorrow, which is going to put the onus on UPS or whoever else they ship it through to get it here on time. And we all know what happens with UPS. I mean, we had a problem with Star Wars not too.
Yep.
And I just hope it gets here by Friday because Friday is the official release.
Well, I think the other thing that's interesting on that line is that there was an article that came out over the weekend. There was a video published on YouTube. One of the other card stores has already received their OP kit and their first distribution of the Shimmering Skies product. And they got to open it up on YouTube and show off all the different things that are in the OP kit and what the promos are going to be and what the pins and all that stuff are. So I wanted to ask about that, and you've kind of brought it up now. Yours isn't even queued up for shipping, but other stores are getting their stuff and are opening it and really getting the advantage of being first to the market as far as the digital game goes. Like if you were more into the online presence for your store, you'd really be getting the shaft right now.
Oh, of course. There's only 3 distributors. I mentioned that before. There's Alliance Games, there's Peach State, and there's Southern Hobby. And Southern Hobby is the largest of the 3 of those. But for Southern Hobby, they may have it in inventory right now, and they're queuing it up to put into active status. So it gets shipped out today. I don't know yet because it's Monday morning, and it could happen by this afternoon.
Yeah.
But I would rest assured to say it's probably not going to go out till tomorrow.
This looks like the store. I've clicked on the video to see what the store is. It looks like they're based in Australia, so maybe they just have different rules because they're a day ahead of us.
That's probably the case. But I wonder who they get it from. I'm sure it's not from one of the 3 distributors. It's probably somebody else that distributes to Australia.
Yeah, I'm sure Australia's got their own distribution program, but they also, we can't pick on Australia too hard because they're like 4 sets behind.
Okay.
Like they didn't get set 1, 2, and 3 at all.
Okay.
Like those are coming over the next several months, and they started getting distribution with set 4. So maybe Ravensburger's making up.
Oh man,
All
I'm telling you, Noah.
right, what else do we want to talk about today, John? In terms of news, is there anything in Magic that you think we need to talk about for the people?
Bloomburrow continues to do well. It's a good set. Uh, People like to play it. I had 19 players the other day for drafting, which was excellent for a store this size. And the next set's coming out September 21st or the 20th already. So they keep pushing out this product, but people, still buy it.
Yeah.
One question, or not a question, but I had one of my customers the other day come in and he said, "Hey, I like the podcast." And he said, "You never talk about Yu-Gi-Oh." I said, "Well, look, I don't play the games." I said, "Noah does, and Noah doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh." I said, "But we'll talk about Yu-Gi-Oh." Yu-Gi-Oh continues to do well. It's a good game. It's been around for a long time. Don't remember. I think it's number 3 on the list.
It is.
After Magic, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh seems like they have their act together. However, I think they run too many qualifiers and regionals and all this other stuff, which takes away from the local stores. It takes away customers. For instance, on Sunday, normally I'll have 6 to 8 people on Sunday. I had none come in this past Sunday. 3 of those customers that usually come in are judges. So they went and judged at one of these qualifiers. And I can appreciate that these guys, they get paid for it and they get compensated with other things and so forth and so on. But there's too many of them. And I could run one too if I wanted to. But the procedure is very complex. You have to get judges, you have to get security and all this other stuff. And I can't host it here because I don't have enough room, just like this other place that did it. And they had to go outside to get another location. And they went outside of the metropolitan area to a location, I guess, that was more affordable. I'm not sure how well they did, but get back to it. Yu-Gi-Oh is continuing to do well. They support the game well. I just got notification already about the charity program that they run once a year. If I want to participate in it, basically it means if somebody comes in with 5 cans of food product, they get a ticket, and each ticket will equate to a pack, and they play. And it's a simple thing to do, but at least they're promoting the game and they're supporting the local communities this way. So hats off to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Well, no, I've actually noticed that. I mean, I wanted to try to balance it out, and especially knowing that Yu-Gi-Oh is one of the bigger games that exists. Not just talking about the games I play on the news section, but I've been trying to pull news for Yu-Gi-Oh to pull into the stuff here. But I mean, the Yu-Gi-Oh news that I've currently seen is that the European Championship, World Championship qualifier is happening, and I don't know if that's something that y'all want us to talk about. Send us a message on YouTube. Join the Patreon so you can tell me you wanted to hear about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I mean, we'll talk about it. I don't have a problem talking more Yu-Gi-Oh and talking about the news. We do have them up on the release schedule and on the event schedule to talk about what's going to happen, but they don't have a release happening until September, so we won't talk about that this week.
Which one is that?
The next release is the 25th anniversary rarities.
Okay. That was it's actually Rarities 3,
Yeah,
which is an expensive set. Expensive because a lot of stores are selling them for $10 a pack. I think I'm selling them for $8 a pack or something like that. And that'll continue as long as the distributor doesn't raise their prices.
Yeah. As far as event news goes, there's no major event coming up for Yu-Gi-Oh until September, which will be the actual World Championship, which is being held the first week of September. So I'm sure that'll generate some news and buzz coming out of that. There was a big Lorcana tournament this last weekend in Italy, still very successful, tons of players. It was the last tournament where Bucky was legal.
Really?
Yeah.
So Bucky's gone, huh?
Well, as starting Friday, Bucky is officially rest in peace, errated into non-existence. There's a couple of Magic Command Fests coming up in August. Those are cool events that we haven't talked about before on the podcast. They're not going to take your customer base away because they're in Shanghai, Germany, and LA. So don't think our guys
I
are going to
don't think they'll go to LA
run
or
away.
any of the other.
And then the next Lorcana tournament is in Toronto at the end of the month. And then the World Championships for Pokemon, we've talked about that already this year. They're coming up in a couple weeks, so we'll hear more about that. But yeah, I think a variety to the news section is a good feedback for somebody to give, and we'll work harder on that.
Getting back to Lorcana, Lorcana's releasing Friday, August 5th, I guess it is. So the next, is it the 9th? August 9th. Yeah, that's right, the 9th. So the next day is our league day. And a couple of the guys that did come in the other day said, we may want to do a sealed or a booster draft. I said, look, I'm not going to schedule it. I could schedule it right then and there when you come in. When you guys come in, we'll see how many people come in, and we'll determine if you guys want to do something different. I'll let you guys decide. I mean, that's the best way of doing it, because if I, pre-set up something, somebody will turn up their nose and, well, I don't want to play that. It's too expensive. You know how it is.
People always complain, but people also find great joy in it. They
bitch.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up our news segment for this week. There's not a lot of other stuff right now. We've got some releases coming down the pipeline that we'll talk about in the future. We do have some stuff we want to talk about as our main topic. I'd probably like to split it into two sections. One, I wanted to talk briefly about a topic, but we do need to catch up from last week and let the people hear the rant again. So John ranted last week, and he's a little upset about some things. And he's going to share that with us again. And for you, it'll be the first time. And we're going to see how coherently we can put this together. But John, tell us what's on your ranting agenda today.
All right. R&R section for today. We'll call it that.
We'll call
Ranting and Rage.
Yes.
All right.
Just calling them out by name.
Bandai. Oh, I don't care. Bandai and Alliance Games. All right. I run One Piece tournaments. And according to the website, when I sign up, they say, well, use such and such distributor, you have your choice. And they're guaranteeing that you can get product from this distributor. You're guaranteed that you'll get not pre-release kits, but tournament kits to supply your tournaments. All right, so last month, I had ordered 12 boxes of, I forgot what the hell it's called, OP6, I think it is. And I was allocated 2 boxes. So I couldn't sell any product. I had to save those packs in order to run and supply my tournament as prizes, which was all well and good because we just started it the other day, and we got enough people to run a tournament, and I think it's going to go well in the future. However, last week or the week before last, I contacted my distributor. I said, hey, look, I said, I know there was reprints of OP7 and OP8. He said, yeah. And I said, I had indicated I wanted 12 of each. He said, well, let me call you back. And I said, okay, here we go. He called me back about 10 minutes later. He said, well, you were allocated none. I said, what do you mean I wasn't allocated none? He said, we only got 30% of what we were supposed to get from Bandai. And I said, how the hell does that happen? He said, I don't know. He says, my boss and my boss's boss and my boss's boss's boss, whoever, maybe the owner of the company, are scratching their heads trying to figure out what the hell is going on with Bandai and why, they're allowing this to happen. They're not getting product out. And I said, well, what happened to that 30%? Well, some of our bigger customers, like $1 million a year customers, we allocated it to them. And I said to myself, all right, without going into the numbers, suppose they were allocated 12 boxes. Why couldn't they send 1 box to John at the toy factory? There was no reason. And he said, we took our 30% allocation and distributed it accordingly. I said, yeah, okay. I mean, I can understand the sales rep. He really doesn't have an explanation for how these things are being allocated. And he said to me, well, you ought to complain to Bandai. And I said, yeah, right, that's going to happen. So it's kind of ironic. And since last week's episode that we screwed up, or whatever the hell happened to it. I got an email as a questionnaire from Bandai. And some of the questions were, are you getting adequately supply from your distributor? How many of this do you have left? How many were you allocated? And I put 0, 0, 0, 0. And then at the end, it said your comments. And that's where I let it rip. And I don't care if they say, hey, John, you're an idiot. You're not going to run tournaments for us anymore or what. But I said, essentially what I said was, we're not getting any. How the hell am I going to support tournament play if I'm not getting any product? I can buy tournament, or I can buy packs, I can buy booster boxes online naturally at an inflated rate for the stores that are getting this stuff from either Alliance Games or GTS. And I said, something's wrong with your distribution. I said, because if they're getting product to sell online, hundreds of boxes, and I'm getting none, something's wrong. And I continued on with that vein. I had about 4 or 5 choice paragraphs that I put in there.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, I think you give the feedback where they'll take it. Maybe it'll change something. Maybe it won't.
I think, because I've never gotten a questionnaire like this, I think it was a fishing expedition on Bandai's part. Mm-hmm. Maybe they got similar complaints and they're trying to root out the problem. That's my gut feeling. And it could be the case because, like I said, this is the first time I got that type of questionnaire.
Yeah. So this topic sort of ties into one of the thing I wanted to bring up, like in our topic section today. But I got the opportunity to visit another gaming shop in the last week. It was in Ohio. I was at a buddy of mine's house and we were talking about stuff and he was like, hey, you want to go buy some cards? He wanted to buy some sports cards. He knows I'm into Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Or not Yu-Gi-Oh! But all the other things. What I played, Lorcana, Star Wars. And he's like, look, you want to go to the store? I need to buy some stuff. We can come back and crack packs. It'll be fun. So we jump in his car. We drive over to the shop and we get to a little strip mall. You know, most of these shops, little strip mall. And we go in and it's a pretty sizable footprint. He says it used to be way bigger. He says it used to cover like multiple stalls of this strip mall. He says there used to be a big version of this in the mall, like do you remember malls? They're a place people used to gather and shop. There was a big version of the same store in the mall, but they parsed it down.
Why? Does your friend know why?
He doesn't know. He's not deeply into this like I am.
I'm sure.
But
yeah, a lot of the stores.
I know why.
Yeah, because
they sell on the internet now. Because their allocation makes your allocation look like dog crap.
Really? On
the table, when I walk in, 11 different sets of the Modern Horizons 3 Commander precons. Unsold. Like, that's what's still there.
Wow.
They're selling them for $35 a box.
Yeah. Which is not that much over cost.
Right. They're still sitting there. They got boxes and boxes of everything.
So they're overbuying and they're getting stuck with it, basically.
Yeah, you don't even have the chance to overbuy, John.
No, but
you bought everything that they allowed you to buy of that set, and it's all gone.
Yeah, I mean, in certain instances, I can buy some more stuff, but
you could. But I'm not talking about like random crappy regular release Magic set that they just bought a whole bunch of. They clearly were allowed to purchase lots of MH3. Like this store is. I mean, it's bigger than your shop physically. They sell all kinds of different stuff. They had huge walls of Pokemon singles that people were buying while I was in the store. They have Pokemon products all over the place. They sold comics and toys. They're very eclectic and broad spectrum shop.
Well, they're probably selling it, or they're probably buying on precedence. If they had a big store before, they had a big account.
They probably still have the big account.
Yeah, but that's what I'm referring to. They have a big account, so their allocation is huge.
Yeah.
So they have the option to say, "Hey, look, I'm downsizing."
But if they ever say no, they're not going to get it back, and I think they know that. So they just buy it all.
So
it'll sell.
He'll sell if he has the money to keep that stuff.
And they were selling at different prices, right? So the Eldrazi deck was like $120 or something, and what was the other one? It was the Bant deck, or whatever. I don't remember what they all are. Anyway, one of the other decks is $35 a pop, but they had all 4 decks, multiple copies of all of them, and it was kind of eye opening to me that like to see the other side of allocation. They're clearly spending, and so then I looked into it a little bit, and they sell online a lot.
Yeah, no,
But
if they're selling a lot at a really discount, and this is what we talked about a couple weeks ago with the magazine article, a lot of stores are dumping their stuff
yeah,
at little over cost, and their margin is negligible. So they're sitting with all this stuff which costs them money.
yeah.
They must have the money to put into inventory and not be overly concerned about. I mean, I'm sure they are concerned,
Well,
but they don't have that big a concern to get rid of this stuff.
they were running. I think there were 4 employees working at the store. They had a guy sorting like Magic bulk and pulling stuff out of that and pricing it and putting it into the case. They had a guy on sports cards. They had a guy on the Pokemon counter. I mean, they had multiple people working. It's a different operation like than what you're running, but like they've got to be up on the distribution scale, and they've got to order $1 million a month kind of product from these people because they're ordering all the games. The other thing though that I wanted to ask you about was I was under the impression that Star Wars in particular, you had to be approved as an OP store to start getting the product. Like you got to play or you don't get to sell. They have no play space. I went to the back emergency exit of the store that went out to the parking lot. There is not a single table in that store to play a game.
I'm sure when they applied for all these other games, they cleaned out the store and put some tables in there. They had to.
There's no way they could have cleaned it.
Or it was at their other location that they just carried it over.
Maybe.
No, there's ways to get around
I
it.
mean, they had dozens of boxes of Star Wars.
They carry Lorcana too, correct?
They had all the Lorcana.
All right. See, Lorcana, you had to take a video of the store
Yeah.
and to show your play space. And they must have circumvented the rules or whatever the hell they did. They fudged it in order to get qualified as an OP store. Are they an OP store?
I don't know. That's my question to you is, do you have to be an OP store to be able to get product from distribution?
No.
So you can just get the stuff?
Probably. But OP stores get priority.
Well, how are we not getting what we want when you're getting 6 new boxes and they had a dozen boxes sitting in their store?
Because I'm not $1 million a year store, and if I'm not an OP store,
yeah,
and they want to satisfy the $1 million a year store,
yeah, but you're an OP store. Where'd your priority go?
Well, you get screwed, Noah. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to.
Anyway, that was just I saw this other realm of
I'm sure if you travel around the countryside to look at all these other stores, there's all kinds of variants, and every store is going to operate the way they want to operate, and they can operate within the rules according to what the manufacturers want them to do. But there's all different kinds of ways to get around it. But I'm not going to get into that because I do everything on the up and up, or at least I try to do everything on the up and up.
Yeah,
and it may hurt me, but that's fine. I mean, I don't have to try to cover up a lie to any of these companies because I do it this way, and this is the way I do it.
No, I understand.
All right, I'm not finished.
You're back to your rant.
Rant and raving.
We went back and forth last time too.
We're finished with Bandai because I'm curious to see what's going to happen with product. And I did mention to the guys the other day, I said, look, when I run out of this box and a half that I have left of a product for prizes, I said, I'm going to have to go buy it online. And I said, if I pay, I'm going to pay more for it. There's not if, but I'm going to pay more for it, just like you would. I said, so the entry fees are going to be increased. And I said, if you're willing to do that, that's fine. I'm willing to buy the product, but I'm going to have to be compensated for it in order to make my money back. I said, I'm not here just as a pretty face. And they all started laughing. All right. My last topic for ranting and raving was the guy that came in about Star Wars a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't seen him in 3 years. And he said, with his job and everything, he quit playing and so forth and so on. However, He said, I'm getting it into Star Wars. He
Yeah.
said, I kind of like the game. I said, good. He said, I bought 3 boxes at another store. And he mentioned the store. I'm not going to go into that. And then he turned around. He said, I got a whole bunch of singles. Do you want to buy them? I said, no. And he kind of looked at me. I mean, I could have bought them.
Right.
And it was principle. I said to him, go to the other store and see if he's going to buy them from you. He doesn't do a lot of singles. I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm not buying singles right now. And there was a reason for it. Number one, I'm stubborn as hell, and I wasn't going to buy it.
No,
Number two is the volatility of the market with the second set, because there's not enough product out there. The individual card prices are still high, and I'm not going to buy them because once supply gets a little bit better, naturally the prices are going to come down. So that's how we left it. But it's just, I keep going back to the people that come in that buy at Walmart all the time. They come in the store. You want to buy my cards? Where'd you buy them? I bought them at Walmart. And my canned response is, well, go to hell back to Walmart and sell them. Well, they don't buy single cards. I said, well, you didn't buy them from me. I'm not buying them from you. Point set. Let's go.
No, I mean, we have had this discussion partly because we're repeating Derek Robertson from last week, and I respect that decision to some degree, particularly with the Star Wars market, right? We talked about the fact that the Star Wars market is heavily volatile. Some cards are up and down by 10 and 20% in a day. And it's hard to like time like the peaks and valleys on those.
Mm-hmm.
If you give somebody cash or store credit for $50 for a card, and then when you want to sell it on TCG Player or eBay, it's only $35, you're losing money, and if it doesn't bounce back up, like you don't know what's going to come up and go down.
Yeah. I like the people that come in the store and want to sell something to me. Right away they'll say, well, I checked it on the price on TCG Player and it's selling for $50. I said, how much you want for it? $50. I said, no. And then I have to go through, the reason why I'm not going to buy it for $50.
Yeah.
A lot of people just they don't want to understand. It's not that they don't understand. It doesn't compute.
Well, it's an interesting math thing, right? So you can't buy it for what the current price is on TCG Player because you have to buy it with some cushion or margin for you to be able to profit.
Right.
If they sold their own card on TCG Player, there's going to be TCG Player fees, there's going to be shipping costs. Mm-hmm. They're not taking $50 home. They're going to take home, what is that, at 3 minus shipping, Mm-hmm. So they'll get $35 on a $50 card.
Right.
Is what they keep.
Yep.
So like they don't understand that though, because they see the 50 and they think they're just going to give $50.
Oh, they think they have a gold mine,
and that's not the way it is. And so like in some cases, their best bet is to take your $30 of store credit and get more product with something else that they want to open, or get some other singles they want to play with, and let you sell the card for $50 if you want to.
Well, see, that mentality, like I said before, doesn't compute.
People don't think it through like that.
It doesn't.
It's not a rational business-driven decision from a lot of people, particularly in the collectible gaming hobby. It's not like sports cards. Like the people that are deep into sports cards are all these people that are deep into like business metrics and statistics, and they're tracking up and downs, and like they can go into a store with their box and they're like, "Look, I want to sell you this, this, and this. I'm looking to get," and they know, they're going to get 70% of value out of the store, but they've calculated that, and that's what they want.
A lot of people do come in the store with used cards.
Yeah.
They're water damaged. They're smoke filled. As soon as they come in the door, I said, oh, Christ, here it comes. I could smell the cards, as soon as they walk through the door. And, they're dingy because they've got smoke, nicotine, I guess, tar, from the smoke is laid on them. You wouldn't believe some of the things people come in and want to sell.
Well, it's interesting. Some people wouldn't think that the nicotine damage is damage, but they don't understand that it smells.
No, they don't.
It impairs the value.
Because they smell of smoke, so they can't smell.
That's true. They're nose blind.
Yep.
All right, John, do you want to jump over and talk 3Es, or do you have more rant?
Last week we talked about fixed cost, variable cost, and volume. We're at 50 minutes right now. Why don't we just leave this for next week?
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll talk about fixed cost, variable cost, and volume next week. All right. The 3Es. A little bit of Snapple.
Ah, yes.
Not much of Snapple this week. How many elevators does the not Statue of Liberty? What the hell is it?
Chrysler Building,
No, the other one. Empire State Building have
6.
73. 73 elevators.
Really?
Yeah. And did you know that bamboo can grow 3 feet in one day?
Yeah, we talked. Did you and I talk about this, or did it?
That was
else?
last week.
Okay, we've already done this discussion.
Yeah, but we did it, but that was
it wasn't recorded.
Right.
I get that. I just want to make sure, because sometimes you visit your in-laws and topics come up, and I was like, I think we talked about bamboo with them too.
No, it was last.
John's the only place I'm allowed to talk about bamboo.
You talk. What else did you talk about bamboo?
I don't know.
We got bamboo growing on the side of the road here. Did you know that?
I've seen it.
Yeah. All right. Now that the Olympics are winding down, we talked a little bit about the Olympics and how well they're doing.
Did you see Magic player Noah Lyles won the gold medal in the men's 100?
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Magic player.
Magic player.
That's what he will be known as on the internet forever, not world's fastest man.
Hey, Logan, as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, is any Yu-Gi-Oh players in the Olympics?
Well, Noah Lyles plays Yu-Gi-Oh too. Noah Lyles.
You had asked last week if I follow the Olympics. I do a little bit. And I don't know how the hell I got on the subject of the women's volleyball team. I know we were talking about, you went to the beach a couple of weeks ago and you don't like the beach because you don't like sand.
Yeah.
And I said, my degenerate ideas in my mind, but the beach volleyball girls, how do they keep sand from getting in their suits?
John.
We talked about that. However, I did some more research.
Hold on, let me mark this so that I know where it happens in the audio.
All right, I'm going to read this. This is kind of funny. How do athletes avoid wedgies?
Oh my gosh.
And more Olympic questions you're afraid to ask. It's not just the athletes defying gravity. Here's how they keep everything in place. Let me see. All right, it's not just the daring black backflips and the lightning fast swim times that impress us. We're also amazed by the sprinter whose makeup doesn't sweat off and the synchronized swimmer, I can't even read right, whose hairstyles stay perfectly in place if they're not high kicking and pirouetting through a pool. All right, and there's different ways of doing this. They wear special makeup and they have their hair with gelatin, but basically on their head. So they put Jello on their head. How do gymnasts avoid wedgies? And this is funny. Believe it or not, there's a spray for that. Gymnast Nastia Lukin, who was all-around gold medalist at 2008 Olympics, told People.com in 2016 that some gymnasts use an adhesive spray, such as Tough Skin, to hold the leotard in place, since picking a wedgie during a performance is grounds for a deduction. I didn't know that. So they can't stand there and pick out their wedgie?
No, a uniform adjustment can constitute an artistic deduction. That's not very artful.
And there's different rules for jewelry and stuff. Where the hell? Let me see. One gymnast, body adhesive, affectionately referred to as butt glue, and special underwear are also options for anti-wedge reinforcement.
Somebody needs to hook Rafael Nadal up with this stuff.
Butt glue. Did you ever put butt glue on your bathing suit or something down at the beach so you don't get sand?
Absolutely. You know how I am. Very vain.
But they have special leotards that are form-fitting. I don't want to get into it. It has to be a riot. To go in there and have these special you can't buy them on the rack.
Have you seen any of the videos of the people trying to get into the current swimsuits? Like competition swimsuits are so tight. One of the top swimmers said that it takes her 15 to 20 minutes to put the swimsuit on.
Really?
And so there was like a behind the scenes tour of like where their changing areas are, and they've got like some private space and stuff. But like these swimmers aren't going to wear like an extra swimsuit under their suit most of the time because that would slow them down and add to their resistance.
The friction. Yeah.
So you're trying to squeeze into the swimsuit for 15 minutes by yourself in a 10 by 10 box, and you're like sitting there pulling on it and like trying to squeeze in, and they are so tight like that they have to literally like force parts of their body into these suits. Like, it's nuts.
That's like me trying to put a swimsuit on.
15 minutes. That's right. 15 minutes of John putting on his Speedo, folks.
Yeah. Can you imagine it? That's a pretty picture.
Yeah, that's the Patreon $50 subscription.
Yeah, without a doubt. But yeah, 15 minutes is kind of ridiculous. But, they talk in here, they talk about the swimmers shave their bodies. Yeah, they shave because it cuts the resistance down.
Yeah.
Even if it's, a thousandth of a
Yeah,
second.
even if it's just your little hairs up there.
Yeah.
They go full bald on top.
Yep, I see that. I see that. All right, that's it. That's all I've got for today as far as the entertaining part of it. You got anything else entertaining?
Well, no.
You don't have any entertainment stuff?
I'm not the entertainment part of this podcast, John.
Just your presence is entertaining sometimes.
I appreciate that. You are a kind soul. All right. Why don't we wrap it up? Oh, I see we have a new patron.
That's me.
Let's do our shout outs.
I subscribed to it because of what the guy said the other day, that there was nothing up on Patreon.
Yeah.
So I said, what the hell's going on? So I got into Patreon, which was free.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to subscribe, and pay you money to give me
You're
money.
not going to pay yourself?
No.
That's a good idea.
I found out why there was no Patreon or special Patreon video from last week. And that's how I found out, because you didn't tell me.
I was on vacation.
A text, hello, John. Hello.
Well,
all right.
At least I told the Patreons.
You told them, but you didn't tell me.
Sorry.
All right. That's right. I'll let it slide.
John's feelings are hurt.
No, I'm not hurt.
All right. Let's close it out, though. Thank you, folks, for joining us this week on Card Shop Insiders. We are very grateful that you support us by listening. If you do like the show, please continue to listen, but also like, subscribe, and follow us on all the different platforms. You can find our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. And you can follow us on social media at Card Shop Insiders on both Instagram and X. We'd like to take a second to acknowledge our Patreon patrons, Ben, Brandon, Grant, Logan, and Drayden, and
John.
Our newest and lowest tier subscriber, John.
But most esteemed.
No, Ben is most esteemed. He's number one.
Ben is always number one.
Ben is number one. All right. If you'd like to interact with the show, though, or you have questions you'd like to see covered on future episodes, like our friend who provided direct feedback in store about wanting more Yu-Gi-Oh content, please head over to the YouTube channel and share a comment on our latest episode. You can also join the Patreon. We have behind-the-scenes episodes that go out on Patreon every week, except for when they don't record at all, because nobody got an episode last week.
Nope.
So it's hard to get a Patreon episode when nobody gets an episode.
This is true.
Due to technical difficulties, we did actually give a special update to the Patreons that knew that there wasn't going to be anything good for anybody.
Except me. I didn't know about it.
Except for a non-Patreon subscriber, John, and key component of this podcast, who did not know that we failed miserably last week. Anyway, if you are willing and able and interested in supporting the show financially, you can join up on Patreon. While it's not required, we do enjoy having those folks participate and look forward to providing more value in the future. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you all next week from Behind the Counter.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you listening in and hearing me mumble and stumble through this today. Thank you.